Attucks High. My Attucks. Attucks is just a microcosm to a larger issue often forgotten about in our history books. North Dade, Mays, Carver, Roosevelt, Lincoln, and many more black high schools all suffered a similar fate of having their schools shut down. The ability to run highways through our communities, riots, and lynchings, the closing of several black high schools in Florida is oftentimes forgotten about. But today, we can make sure that legacies will never be erased. Be the change before it's too late.
On March 8, 1770, a small group of armless men led by former slave and seaman Crispus Attucks tried to reason with British soldiers about their disrespectful and abusive behavior to the people of Boston. The soldiers' response to the encounter was gunfire. The great leader and former slave Crispus Attucks was the first American to die in what we know today as the Boston Massacre, and led to the fight for this country's freedom, the American Revolution. Journey with us, if you will, to a time where people of color were denied access to equal education. In 1908, the first school was started in a church with just 9 children. In 1910, the school site was relocated to another building, which is now Dania Beach Boulevard. 2 years later, the school was returned to the church. In 1914, land was purchased and a building was constructed on what is now Ely Boulevard by Joseph Sidney and Mr. Mizell. About 1920, Broward County purchased the property and built another school on the site. Judge Lincoln Brown, the first principal, renamed the school Crispus Attucks. Judge Brown was succeeded by Professor J.A. Ely, and Professor Ely was succeeded by Mr. Arthur E. Williams. These are the stories of our ancestors, an ode to Attucks High School.
We thrived, we blossomed in that. And I mean, we had, lots of clubs and stuff like that, the chorus, the sports teams, but we had academic stuff. We had an honor society, National Honor Society, things like that. And we had events and stuff that we did that was a part of that. And we had community things that we did. I can remember helping out the elderly when their house might have gotten in disrepair or their yards were not cut or this, that, and the other. And a bunch of us had to go over there and cut the yard, trim the hedges, take all that stuff away. And Miss So-and-so didn't have to do something but sit on our porch and watch us. But that was a part of what this was as a community, that we looked out for our elderly and we looked out for our youngsters. And I'm not saying that there were not crazy things going on in this town at that time, but the fact of the matter is that the community had a sense of purpose, and Attucks was a part of that purpose. We had community meetings at Attucks.
We were all competitive, to tell you the truth, and we strived to be good and also respect our teachers. Teachers they actually demanded respect, and we gave it to them too. Yes, I was involved in clubs. I was in the math club, the Spanish club, and actually I was one of the queens at one time.
Okay.
And so, we always involved. The teachers actually encouraged us to get involved in different organizations, and we strive to do that. We tried to live up to their standards that they had set for us.
I don't know, I loved it. I went there for 12 years. First grade through 12th grade. I went there for 12 years, and I know nothing else but Attucks. I didn't know, like middle school or anything. It was called Attucks High School from the time that I went there. It wasn't Attucks Elementary or Attucks Middle. It was Attucks High School in the whole 12 years I was there. I remember being in the first and second grade. It was one of those things where the bigger kids particularly in the high school area, because we were separated, but not separated at the school, because there was a point on the school that all the elementary kids were over here, and if you went in the hallway, so to speak, that was the high school, and it was divided, but it wasn't divided. It was like you knew that was the high school over here, and they knew that this was the elementary school over here. Because I always remember I got my arm broken when I was in the 2nd grade. And there was a kid or guy actually picked me up and took me to the office because my arm was broke. And he was a high school guy. I always remember this guy's name, and I tell people about the story. And it was a guy that at least I used to be scared of. His name was Bennett, I think, yeah. Wallet, no, not Wallet. But that was Hako, and I can't think of the other guy's name. But Hako Hamilton, if you remember, I don't know if you remember him, Slank. Hako Hamilton, another guy, because one of the things, as big kids, they used to lock us in the bathroom. And we as elementary school kids, you know, you 8, 9 years old, you didn't want to go in the bathroom by yourself because you wind up getting locked in the bathroom. But in hindsight, you could get out because the window was there. But we, as kids, you didn't know that. But that was one of the things, like, man, don't go in the bathroom by yourself because Hako and them will lock you in the bathroom.
We had very good cooperation, and we didn't learn that. I didn't learn that until well up in age, well up in going into various businesses, that the teachers we had really was there to help us. They insisted on our getting the education. They did not spare the rod. And because they did not spare the rod, and I mean that board that they used, it allowed us to really do our homework, to focus on education. I played sports. I got involved in football. I got involved in track and field. And those are the kinds of things that I enjoyed at school.
The Panther, the Tiger, the Eagle. The big three of education in Broward is what connected our communities, Central, North, and South.
Now, the competition was very big in sports. Ely and Attucks in basketball and football and baseball, swimming. The competition was just great. Professor Ely would tell us, he said, now you guys, you got to win, but don't win big, because if you win big, I can't go home and have peace.
The thing with Dillard and Ely is that the core of the faculty and the core of the student body and the parents, they are all within a community. Like you take in Fort Lauderdale, everybody went to Dillard, all the blacks, you know? And the same thing with Ely.
Well, listen, it was on. When Dillard come to town, the football stadium was packed, the gymnasium was packed, and the same thing with Ely. You know, these were our rivalries, and if we didn't win the game, that basically was our season. You know, we had to beat those games, but it was fun. It was fun.
It was very political. We had, as a matter of fact, we had Dillard. We had Blanche Ely, because that was the Professor Ely's wife's school. But he left when I was in 10th grade. That he was there, so he left 11th and 12th. He wasn't there, but still, if we won a game and we were there, we had to get on the bus or you had to run. And we were just rival, but it was, you know, fist fights. It wasn't guns and stuff like they do now.
Well, Professor Ely, now this is what I was told. Now I hope this is the truth. They would say that if Ely would play Attucks, and if Attucks would win the game, that Professor Ely would have to sleep out on the porch.
Oh wow!
I don't know how true that is.
We would have parades in the street with the majorettes marching, the band playing. You know, it was very exciting. And then the day of the game, same thing. halftime, the band played, and just everything was very exciting because that's what you live for, the excitement and for the games. I don't know anything about us throwing the game to Ely. And maybe that's just a rumor. I don't know about that. You know, I think we tried to beat Ely, as far as I'm concerned. We tried to beat Dillard, you know, because we had a rivalry with Dillard and with Ely, all those schools. You know, we were Dania and Hollywood combined with Hollandale and Cobb's Ranches at the time. It was called Cobb's Ranches. So we were one school versus all those other schools. So, you know, we tried to beat them. We didn't try to lose the games. And it was very exciting, you know, with the parades and all that. So it was a good time.
Sadly, 1968 was the final school year for the Eagles. A decision was made to ensure signs of progress, but not everyone agreed with the decision to turn the high school into a middle school. Looking at it from today's point of view, was this a sign of progress or a sign of something worse?
Should have remained a high school. What we didn't have the night or the evening that they held, school board that is, held a meeting in the auditorium of the school to decide what should become of Attucks. Should it remain a high school, or should it become a middle school? The black parents did not, one, come out like they should have, and many of those that came out didn't really know the issues that well. Therefore, they just sit there. A fellow by the name of Tommy, I can't remember his last name, but he lived right across the street from the school. He became a police officer also, a Dania police officer. But he walked those floors fighting that they keep Attucks. And why is it that you want to change the school when the school have not shown you that they're incompetent? And you just did not have enough parents to get up and challenge. One of the things that hurt those that were there, including me, because I was there one of the nights. I was in college at the time, and I came home, and I voiced my opinion.
It breaks the sense of community because the children have a sense of belonging when the school is in the community, you know, and then, you know, like they have had several meetings because they're trying to take it down even further. They want to, like, you know, just disband it all together. And I don't know, it might be a done deal, but I don't know, because the last meeting that I went to was before COVID happened. But yeah, they, you know, they're trying to like say something about down enrollment, you know, enrollment being down. And so they want to like phase it out and put everybody in one school, but not in that school. They're going.
Yeah. I was hurt with the district of Broward County, and I was hurt because our parents did not step up to keep that as a high school. In other words, the lack of knowledge was not there because they didn't understand what was going on. And by the time they did, they had made the transition to make that a middle school. It was, to me, it was very underhanded the way that Broward County did it. And I thought that we were going to, and I still believe that it was not very good for us because we had so much history, so much that was going on for us with doctors, with lawyers, with football players, with basketball players, with teachers, with politicians, with community leaders that were roosted and breaded out of Attucks High School. Now we were going to be losing all of that. And then not only were we going to be able to lose all of that, but we're going to be losing a part of our history. And that what saddened me most of all. I was very disillusioned by the lack of participation of our parents because they really truly dropped the ball on this. And by the time they did it and we tried to regroup and try to stop it, it was too late for us to do it.
But now, when you look at Attucks, it was a very unique situation because, as you can see, Liberia was such a small community. But our students draw from Davie, you know, and then we had most of and a whole core of our students from what is called West Park today. We used to call it Carver Ranches. And then you had Hallandale Beach, you know, and another little small community over off the US 1 called Oges. So actually our student body drew from so many different areas until there wasn't no core. So we couldn't really mount up a fight to kind of keep Attucks open because, you know, everything was so divided. You know, I mean, of course, the people in Hallandale wasn't going to argue when they had a Hallandale High School built right in the community. So you weren't going to get no fight from them, you know? And then most of the kids in West Park, they were going to MacArthur High School, which was nearby, and you had Miramar High School, you know? So that's mostly where their allegiance went, you know? And then, of course, they built Cooper City. Cooper City High School is where all the Davie kids, you know? So they began to go there. So we really wasn't left. So during the Vietnam War, as just like myself in the 60s, even though I didn't go to Vietnam, but I was in Germany, most all of my classmates and most of all the guys in my community, we was fighting the Vietnam War. You know, most of us was in the military.
There's a good outpouring of the alumni who support that school with their money to do the things that we would have done for Attucks if we'd have had that same opportunity. And that is a regret from that time. Now, I had nothing to do with being able to change any of that, but nonetheless, it was still a regret to me. Some of my best friends, specifically a young man named Alvin Warner, he and his brother went to South Broward. And as the starting forwards for their team, they took South Broward to a state championship. And I looked back upon that and I said, we don't want a state championship.
Yeah.
If Alvin and his brother Anderson were starting as forwards for our team.
It was like somebody broke my heart, okay? Because it was, you know, we had that camaraderie, that community type thing, you understand? The teachers, the principal, even though we got a lot of punishments for things that we did that we shouldn't have been doing, but those things I look at now help me, okay? So it was disappointing.
It was done without anyone who was an alumni having any control over what they were going to do. It's almost like we have fought tooth and nail to keep Attucks Middle in school. Now
They want to turn it into a trade school.
they want to take it and turn it into a trade school. But the alumni, we have, you know, we go to meetings and we're letting them know it's not going to happen. Because we need Attucks to remain in this neighborhood. Like, why would you take a beautiful school like Attucks, who has everything to offer, and turn it into something else? This is what happened when they took it from a high school.
I graduated in '66, so during that time, when that took place, and I think the last graduating class was in '68, there was a student that left even in class of '68, and those guys that were playing football, they went and left. In fact, some of them ended up in pro ball. They went and left and went to Dillard and graduated from Dillard, okay, because we didn't have a football team at that time. But I was in the military during that time. Okay. But from what I understand, that they had meetings. They had a meeting about the transition from quiet meeting that a lot of people didn't know, and I think they took a chance, and they did it underhandedly, you know, for a lot of people in the community not knowing about that. I think if we had been proactive like the school like Ely were proactive in the community, and they knew about it, and people come out and they change that, you know. And by Ely still being a high school, Dillard still being a high school, and we lost a lot. When we lost our high school, we lost our community.
I just really, you know, I always try to talk Attucks up, like for kids coming into the school and just talk Attucks up, because it's still a good school. They have good teachers and they just need to like have some history in their own school and in their own community.
Once the alumni have gone on, I'm concerned about what will happen to this middle school here.
Yeah, we're going to lose our history.
That will be a lost history. We'll never gain it back. You know, we lost history, and what's going to become of the school. So what we are trying to do, even with the alumni now, we are trying to get other students involved in it that can take our place, younger students, and that can pass the baton on to them. Because if we don't do it now, it's a loss. It's a loss, and that's my concern for this school.
We had a different perspective with young people. We worked with them, Rita, in such a way that we had their confidence, we had the interest of parents, we had the interest of communities, and we had the focus of those communities directed toward these institutions. It was that good teachers make good students. I said, yes, that is true, but the other way around is students make good teachers.